Molly Nash was born in 1994 and was found to have Fanconi anemia, an extremely rare genetic disease in which DNA repair is defective, predisposing Molly to the development of cancer and bone marrow failure. In 2000, Adham Nash was born, a product of pre-implantation genetic diagnosis and in vitro fertilization. The process first involves retrieval of eggs and sperm followed by fertilization in a petri dish. At the 8-cell stage of the embryo, a few cells are removed and examined for genetic defects. Embryos that are clear of genetic problems are then implanted into the mother's uterus, and those that exhibit defects are disregarded.
Biopsy, or we pick up this cell, and on this cell we can run a multitude of tests, mainly DNA analysis to check if this embryo is affected or not with a certain genetic disorder. What we can do as well is to make sure that this embryo is healthy, but that it is also an eligible match for an already sick sibling in the family.
But why was Adham Nash conceived in this manner? Well, upon discovering that Molly would need a bone marrow transplant to survive, her parents were given the option of conceiving a child who would perfectly match the genetic requirements of a transplant donor. Adham Nash was the first savior sibling, and this procedure still goes on today. Is the issue of autonomy being undermined? Are there risks on the donor child that are being overlooked? And is this the start of a slippery slope towards designer babies? Or is it a noble solution to transplant limitations?
Talking about the cord blood usage and if this is ethical or not ethical. In theory, if you're just taking some blood, cord blood, we're not harming anyone. But again, looking at taking some cord blood to save a life of another person, it is something of beneficial.
Technically, the biopsy should be safe, but we do not have yet enough long-term data.
We had a child who had thalassemia, who had a sibling, she still has a sibling, who was conceived by in vitro fertilization in Belgium, where pre-implantation genetic diagnosis was done, and the embryo that was not did not have thalassemia, but also was HLA matched with the sibling was selected, and the sibling was born, and the parents came to us, for bone marrow transplant. And I told them, look, your daughter is still below a year of age, the donor. They had not collected cord blood. So there were multiple issues that were raised that I had to discuss with the family. The age of the donor, the potential risk to the donor, the fact that the cord blood that had been obtained was saved in a non-accredited blood bank. But my big dilemma at that point was, if this sibling can be safely transfused, should we wait till the sister is 3, 4, 5 years old, bigger? How long do we wait? Do we run the risk of having to give her a blood transfusion? Do we get the transfusion from the parents where this has problems? We take it from a random donor pool. So it became quite an issue.
And if it's not the medical risks we worry about, what is the effect of this process on the donor child's psychological and emotional well-being?
That person whom we are taking the organ, he will have some internal emotional feeling into that decision, especially if it is related. For example, a twin brother or a sister. He will feel obliged or will feel responsible. Like, for example, he's the only one who will fit the HLA of that other person who is sick.
I always counsel the families of any patient with genetic disease that they can, for future pregnancies, have prenatal diagnosis, that they can have pre-implantation diagnosis also, in case they are opposed to abortion. And both of these have moral quandaries, because even some religious belief preclude even pre-implantation genetic diagnosis. But I make them aware of that. I do not counsel them about selecting a future child as a donor. I never bring that up. Should they ask me, I say, look, you have to realize that you need to have a child that's wanted, and you need to see the rule at the genetic center where you're being tested. I think one way to get around that is to perhaps have a directed cord blood bank, not a cord blood bank where we select for everybody, but where we have a family, they have a child that is conceived by a pre-implantation genetic diagnosis to be free of disease, who's an HLA match to the sibling, that we take the cord blood and store it. That's no risk to this child.